Hello, my name is Bisi Akande. I am called the Inspirer, and that's because I inspire you to be more so that you can live and live better. I am intrigued sometimes when I see leadership, and one of the things that I notice is that people want to think that leaders are above board and can't make errors. However, it's possible for anyone to commit an error. It's possible for anyone to make a mistake, and the truth is that we all make mistakes, right? We're all it's all a part of our growth process, it's not about a part of how we face the trajectories and the challenges of life as it were. So we make mistakes. However, when we repeat mistakes, the reason is simply because we are missing something out. We are not taking note of the errors that we are prone to make in life. So I studied myself and other leaders, and I've seen a couple of errors or mistakes, if you like, that tend to affect us and affect our leadership. Not just us and our leadership, but also affect the people that we are called to lead. Here are four errors that I believe leaders are prone to make that we can jump into very easily without knowing that we have done them. The first one is reacting rather than responding. Now life happens. People usually do things that we don't expect them to do. People usually make errors or make mistakes or take action that we didn't expect them. They surprise us sometimes. Now, when this happens, we have two options. Option one is to react, and reacting is when we just throw it out and just give them back what they've given us in their own coin. But there's also the other side, which is that we could respond. Now, why do we usually react? We react because that's a default system. Reacting comes easier, reacting comes naturally. And when we react, what we do is that we say words that we didn't mean. We take decisions that we later regret. We react because that's the easy thing to do, but and unconsciously we do them. But if we are conscious enough to remain calm, to think through what has happened, then we will be able to move from the default mode and get into the place of intentionally responding. And that's when we can correct things. That's when we can provide solutions that will help us and help the organization. So the first thing is leaders can make the mistake of reacting rather than responding. The second thing is the leaders can make the error of presumption or, if you like, assumption. You can begin to assume, and then the assumption is that what worked previously is going to work again. That's it's easy for us to forget that life is full of changes and that people change. Sometimes you look at somebody who has done something and just think that's what they're going to do. It doesn't always happen like that. A lot of times, people will surprise you positively or even surprise you negatively, whichever way you look at it. So sometimes the person you said we're going to act this way might not act that same way, might act in a different way. So assuming or presuming that people are going to do things or things are going to be the way they are, or that the system that you used before will work, it's a mistake, and sometimes it can cost you a lot in the place of leadership. See, um, it's possible to repeat your strategy, but not in all cases. So we repeat our strategy or try to do the same thing over and over again sometimes because we don't take the time to think into what we are doing or think into what we are thinking about, like one of my mentors would say. So we should always remember that in leadership, things change, people change, and in that way, we will not allow the error of assumption to take us over. Now, the third error is the error of compromise. And there's this story about a society or a community that prides herself in the place of unity. They see themselves as unity. But when it comes to making decisions, they often would compromise because they are trying to find the middle line. But over time, this organized, unified society began to lose their success points because they were always trying to find a midline, trying to make compromises so that they could probably get everybody working. And what compromises does is that it begins to get you to the point where you begin to act and produce mediocre results. You've got to be careful with making compromise. Now, it means that once you have set your priorities, once you have set your principles, you've got to be able to live with them. The moment you begin to change those things, you create a system that will only bring you into the place of average rather than allowing you to excel as a leader that you're supposed to excel. Um, the fourth error that I've seen is the error of distrust. And a lot of times this is easy with people, especially when people drop the ball. I think I've said this at some point before that people will surprise you and they might surprise you negatively. But you see, when people drop the ball, give them a chance to pick the ball again. So when we distrust people, what it does is that it can spread. If you distrust someone, others will see you as someone who can distrust them also. And a lot of times, when you distrust someone, what happens is that you begin to look at them with suspicion. When you're looking at people with suspicion, you're not open-minded. You are not allowing them to express themselves, and they also are also suspicious, and they are not expressing the fullness of what they can do. It doesn't allow your work to flow very well. It doesn't allow you to relate properly. It doesn't allow you to have free flow of communication. So when people fail, give them a second chance. Do not allow the spirit of distrust to come into your camp, to come into your organization. Because once there is distrust, leading becomes difficult. Leadership becomes a challenge because we cannot just take decisions freely and easily. So those are my four errors that I see a lot of leaders take. What do you think? Say something to me in the comments, please. Let's talk about this. Once again, my name is Bisi Akande, called Inspire.